Welcome to the legendary Brownup. Today we'll be taking a look at Hans Zimmer live in Prague, and it's presented in Dolby Atmos. And for once, there won't be any spoilers ahead. Oh, special shout out to Mike LA from AVS Forums. I know you love this disc, and I hope this review does you proud. Let's jump right in. Scene 1 is my favorite part of this entire concert, and so it's like 1 minute long, and it's the King of Pride rock section. And love that guy, Richard Harvey. He plays these wind instruments to perfection. You also have Zara Russell coming in to join the rest of the singers, and she was a Gladiator singer performer. You have Buyi Zama right here also singing, and then you have the original Lion King himself, Libo M. And this is to all my 90s folks, my 90s kids. You have to love Lion King, and this part of the concert is just so epic. The voices, the instruments blending together. There's some really powerful vocals here. Really love the strings, really love the drums here. And each time it swells, it just gets me so emotional. And it's coming up right here, the swell with the strings. And I just love that really high note that the strings play. It's fantastic. The song ends with this kind of really happy, fun moment. I give this first scene a 3. Even though I love it so much, it doesn't have much in terms of like bass or dynamics. It's just a really, really awesome scene that that has a special place in my heart. Scene 2 comes from the main theme for Rain Man, and it's a really mellow way to start this song. But then once they get going, right around this timestamp, the ultra low frequencies really start to kick in, and there's a steady diet of under 20 hertz stuff right here, and it gives a nice vibration to the couch, and just kind of vibrates your body in tune with the song. Right here, in addition to the nice low end, we get a cool little bass solo from Yolanda Charles, and she's just playing that bass, and it is nice. I really have a soft spot for the bass as an instrument, so when I get a nice little bass solo like this, it sounds really, really good. All right, and then further into the solo, she starts slapping that bass, and this scene gets a 4. Really enjoy it. Scene 3 comes from the Electro suite, and the way it starts off, there's like these whispers that kind of go left, center, right, left, center, right, left, center, right, and throughout the song, those whispers kind of go around you, and then some of them kind of make it their way above you. At least in my room, that's what the imaging sounds like. And we're kind of jumping near the end of it. And right here around here, this timestamp, if you want to know what a electrical surge might feel like, this is what I imagine an electrical surge might feel like. It is just balls to the wall, max volume, and it feels like electricity is literally surging through my body. And right here, I'm getting like peaks of like 110 dB at 30 hertz, 40 hertz, 50 hertz. It is some crazy stuff going on. I love it. My body loves it. My room, I don't know if my room loves it, but this is a fantastic scene. Must watch. This scene gets a 5. Scene 4, this is the track Aurora. And it's a bit of a weird track because for like a minute and a half, we just have Hans kind of speaking and talking about his experience with Dark Knight trilogy and Heath Ledger and the shooting in Aurora, Colorado. And throughout this whole talking sequence, you have a couple of people in the orchestra that are kind of like hitting some sticks. You also have this ULF throughout the whole speech, as well as throughout the whole piece. And at a certain point, it gets really intense, and it's like hitting 105 dB, like under 20 hertz. And that's the kind of stuff that rattles everything in my room. So it's a bit of a weird experience because he's just kind of talking, but it gives you this kind of like uneasy feeling throughout this whole piece. And if you're looking for ultra low frequencies, I think this track right here is probably going to give you the most amount of ultra low frequencies. But because it doesn't really correlate or correspond to anything in particular dealing with the music, I didn't want to give it a full 5. So this scene gets a 4 for just its crazy use of ULF. The last scene Inception suite. And it starts off with these crazy like spotlight sweeps like that, where it's centered around 40 hertz and it just shoots straight up on the REW graph. And they are very, very powerful. And they do this for like a whole like minute and a half. They're just kind of sweeping and it kind of builds up this tension. Okay, so once the orchestra starts playing, for the next 45 seconds, it just continues to rise and swell, and the SPL gets higher and higher until it crescendos into this like massive loud noise, and it's awesome. Legit, this whole entire set, which is like over 10 minutes long, is so good, especially if you love the movie Inception. But right here, there's going to be a transition coming from this song to Mombasa, and it literally almost made me jump off of the couch because of how powerful some of those notes were when they made that transition. Right there. And it's just like, wow, that was so intense. It was very, very quick, but very, very powerful. And then this next part, Mombasa, is full of couch-shaking goodness. And it's just a really, really fun track. And this track ends with Time from Inception. And if you've watched the movie, you know exactly what that is. And it's a fitting end to this concert. And this scene in particular gets a 5. So after averaging out the scores, we get 4.2 legendary brown notes out of 5. This concert is loud. If you like listening to your music loud, this is it. I played this at my normal -10 master volume, and at certain points, I was like, whoa, okay, this might be a little bit too much for me. And so I recommend you guys to be careful with your volume if you're gonna play this disc. BassEQ comparison, and I just want to show you 2 quick scenes. One was the Aurora, which had the super huge spike at under 20 hertz. There's definitely more of that ULF, but I feel like BassEQ in this particular case, it helps a little bit, but it might be a little bit too much ULF for a song specifically like this. The second BassEQ graph I have for you is from the Rain Man theme, and there's definitely way more bottom end here, and I think this particular track, it definitely helps more so than the Aurora. So overall, the bass on the regular track, on the regular Atmos track, is perfectly fine, but adding BassEQ just kind of brings up the levels just a little bit to give you that extra fullness. I understand that this music is very subjective, and you may or may not have seen some of the films that are on this concert. And so I definitely understand that if you don't like any of these movies, you're not going to like this concert. But that said, I think Hans Zimmer has created some of the best music in recent decades. One of those shining examples is The Lion King. That whole set right there was amazing. I remember back in 2017 when I was at Coachella, Hans Zimmer came on, and I was thinking, Hans Zimmer at Coachella, that's gotta be weird, right? It wasn't. They played a similar Lion King set to what was later on in this concert, and it blew me away. And this rendition on this disc also blew me away. And again, like I said before, this is my favorite part of the concert. Other tracks that I really liked was the opening track, Driving Miss Daisy. I really liked how they kind of slowly introduced each band member until they finally lifted the veil and got everybody involved, and it was a very, very cool start to the show. Crimson Tide was also amazing. Loved Denzel Washington and Gene Hackman in that movie, and the soundtrack was very, very epic, very fitting for the tense kind of movie that Crimson Tide was. The next big track that I really loved was Gladiator, and it was really interesting to hear Zara Russell's voice in this track. I was wondering if that's actually her real voice or if they did some kind of processing to it. It's very deep in some of the Gladiator tracks, but that theme is very, very epic. It was one of my first movies that I really loved watching with full surround sound. The music in the opening battle is so powerful. Some of the slower stuff that Hans Zimmer has in Gladiator is fantastic as well. My next favorite piece is He's a Pirate from Pirates of the Caribbean. It's the last track of that section, and for a few minutes, it's just really, really fun, really, really powerful. Reminds you of the movie Pirates of the Caribbean, and it's a winner. Finally, the concert ends with two really, really big movies, Interstellar and Inception. In Interstellar, if you've seen that movie, you know that pipe organs are a big part of that soundtrack, and they incorporate pipe organ music in this concert as well. Finally, Inception. It's a movie that I revisit quite often. The ending to that movie is still something that I think about to this day, and there's been so many people that talk about the ending, and a lot of that has to do with the way the music kind of accompanies the movie, and that last little violin note that they play is just so perfect, and I love the way that movie ends. Okay, so I have to admit, the boss platform right away from the opening track, I noticed, okay, this is a little too intense. So right away I turned it down. I changed the crossover from 6 dB per octave all the way down to 18 dB per octave, still a Butterworth, and that made it much more bearable because it was just kind of giving my couch just constant shake, and that's not quite what you want in a concert like this. So just be aware if you have a boss platform, this might be a little distracting to you. One of the other things I didn't really like were the flashing lights. You know how every time you watch a movie or play a video game, there's the seizure warning, the epilepsy warning, and this concert, my gosh, flashes the lights at you constantly, and in a dark room, it can get a little overwhelming. So that's just something to take note of. Finally, if you don't like some of the movies that are on here, then you're gonna find this concert kind of boring. Surprisingly, The Dark Knight, that whole section, I actually didn't like, and I'm sure I'm gonna get a lot of flack for that. I love the movies, love the acting, love the cinematography, love Christopher Nolan, but for some reason, the Dark Knight soundtrack just didn't really do it for me. And for that 13-minute section, I was just kind of like, okay, can we get to the next part? So this disc is not going to be for everybody. But if you like film, if you like Hans Zimmer, I think there's enough stuff in here that will make any fan enjoy listening to at least 3 or 4 of these tracks. I happen to like a majority of them, and this disc will continue to get played at least once a year for me. So that's it. What are some of your favorite tracks from this concert? Let me know down in the comments below. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.